What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to What's Your Story? Today, I'm excited to have on a friend of mine that go back to about 2015, where we met at Springfield College. He is someone we connected pretty early with because we both had the same passion for bodybuilding. I was competing at the time. He was training very hard in bodybuilding also at the time, and obviously we connected on that level. Over the years, we've stayed in touch, and he started to accomplish a lot of different things and transitioning from bodybuilding and the fitness field and going into the business field, where he invented and started his product called the BlendiBlender, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Blendi.
All right. So the BlendiBlender,
Yep.
make sure. So at that point, I was like, this is crazy, watching him succeed and build, his own personal business. And I thought he'd be awesome to have on the show, to talk about his journey in fitness and bodybuilding, and also the ups and down roller coaster in business, and also how he got to the point he is today. So at this point, I want to welcome Jon into the show.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. I appreciate it. I have been watching your show for a little bit now, and it's cool to be able to talk to you today.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's nice to catch up, talk a little bit.
Yes.
And I'm excited for you to tell everyone your story, because I think you're doing a lot of things that a lot of people want to do, especially as everyone wants to be an entrepreneur nowadays. Everyone wants to build a business. And I think you can give them a really inside look of like what it actually takes, more so than it's just being cool to own your own business type thing. So to start off, I want to go back a little bit and kind of how we met. And I want to talk about the fitness side of it. When did you get into the fitness side? When did you start training, working out? And why did you originally fall in love with that side?
Yeah, so it all started when I was playing football. I was like 195 pounds at 5'6", and I was overweight, and I was just becoming a thing. And I remember someone took a Snapchat of me or something, and I saw what it actually looked like, and I was like, wow, this is not the best look. And someone in high school who, I guess I got a little picked on, so it was never ideal to be that overweight. But basically that led me to then say, okay, we need to make a drastic change. And when I was playing football, we had summer workouts. And I remember I cut all my meals basically in half. So basically cutting my calories in half during summer workouts. And I lost like 40 pounds in 5 months, some insane number. And then I was diagnosed with like anorexia and all these crazy things, which wasn't the case. And I was doing a lot of at-home workouts at the time too, after football had ended. And I kind of just found this passion. I was following like Scott Herman Fitness. I'm not sure if you know who that is.
Yeah.
I got really big into him. And then I saw Chris Jones with Lean Physiques.
Yep.
Or not Lean Physique, I'm sorry, but Physiques of Greatness. And I got into him. And then I was like, I want this bodybuilder body. So then I went to Health Tracks. I started working out in the gym, and then I kind of fell in love with it. And I fell in love with this bodybuilding training style. Yeah.
So
that was about 17.
Okay, so you're 17.
Yeah.
So it's interesting too. I didn't know the part about people like panicking because you lost weight so fast. Were you realizing that you were losing weight that fast, and do you think there was something going on where it was unhealthy, or did you kind of knew the process that was going on and people just were like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, I knew the process.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And I was doing workouts at the time and making sure I had enough protein. I knew kind of the basics,
Right.
Yeah.
So you're 17 at that point.
And
then in your mind then, were you just doing it for more of like enjoyment, want to change your physique? And then if so, like when did it start to you're like wanting to thought of like competing in bodybuilding?
Yeah, so there was definitely a cutoff, and I was doing fairly good. My physique was looking fairly good, and I was doing it for the physique, thing. I wanted to look good, right? And going into the gym a little bit more, I was like, okay, I want to take this to the next level. And how do I do that? And I thought that hiring a bodybuilding coach was that answer. And I forget exactly who connected me. I think it was one of my friends at Health Tracks, which is a company actually around America. But I found one guy, and he's like, oh, go talk to John Yops of Team Lean. And I was like, okay, cool. So I called him up, and I remember I was working at Highland Park Market at the time in my car in my biker's outfit. And then that's kind of like what started that whole journey down this competing lifestyle. And by 18, I think I was still 17 actually. In May, I had done the OCB Natural New England's in Bloomfield, Connecticut, and that was my first show, and I was the youngest competitor in the whole thing.
What was your experience like for the first show? I know, like, going into your first show, you're nervous, I don't really have a clue what's going on to an extent. It's just
Yeah.
a new experience. What was that experience like?
Well, seeing my dad had passed in January of that year, so it was absolutely dreadful to deal with all of that, to then be also a senior in high school, and with the whole aspect of, you need to do like an hour of cardio towards the end for like a month straight is and obviously if you do a 20-week program, you're usually pretty good, but I still have to dial myself in a little bit more, so it's always on a per person basis. But all those factors culminated into one experience, and the experience itself was amazing, but the couple months before that were just really tough to get through. Yeah.
I think that's the
Yeah.
part a lot of people don't realize too, is obviously when you get into it, what's going to happen. But like you said, a 20-week prep, most people, if you say a 20-week prep, they're like, what? Because everyone wants to do it in like 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks.
Yeah.
And, depending on how much weight you have to lose, like realistically, it could be more than that even. And it's
Exactly.
crazy. So how did you do as well as you thought you were going to do? Or were you just happy to like go through that first experience and be there?
Yeah. I was just happy to be there, and to even say I got on stage and competed and placed third with being the youngest person was just awesome. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What did you do another comp after that, or was that the only one you ended up going through?
I was training. Yeah, I was training for one, and I ended up not doing it.
Gotcha. Yeah. Was it just because you weren't fully all in with it, or is there any reason behind it?
Yeah. So my basically it was called Steel Blade at the time. That was kind of my forefront in my mindset. And then it's like some other personal things happened on my end too. And it was kind of almost impossible to really stay on track with going to the gym every day and stuff like that. A lot of change was happening. And so it just was probably my best option to not compete. I wasn't going to bring my best package. I knew that for the first show, I just wanted to get out there and get it done and say I did it and I accomplished this. But then the second one, I knew I wanted to really bring my A game, and I knew I couldn't do that, so I didn't want to do it.
Makes sense. Yeah, I'm the same way. It's one of those, if you can't be all in with it, then why do it? And so with bodybuilding, you're competing in there. You started getting more passionate about it. We met at Springfield. So when you went to Springfield, you said you were going into it for physical therapy. Was that just kind of like a thought at the time? You're just like, well, this seems interesting. You're going to go into it. And then how long did you end up finishing the degree in that? Or like, what was your degree completely when you finished there?
Yes, sure. So I originally wanted to go to Springfield College for athletic training. And then I shadowed my athletic trainer in high school, and they said, no way. And I give props to the athletic trainers out there, because I love what they do, but it just didn't justify it salary-wise for me. And I knew I wanted to be pretty well off, I would say, in the future. So if I was going to do something, I wanted to make a lot of money eventually. And I thought personal training could be an answer, but I thought physical therapy would combine something that was challenging and made a lot of money, and also I could call myself a doctor. And I don't know why I wanted to be that, but I did at the time. And so I thought that was a cool step to go. And it ended up being interesting because it was too late by the time I'd figure that out. So I had to go into sports bio first at Springfield, and taking the classes, I was basically taking the same classes as physical therapy major would. And the plan was to basically apply to be in that program during college or after college to do a 6-year program. And by the time basically end of freshman year into sophomore year happened, which is when I was planning on doing my second competition, my whole mindset had just changed. And I had met Troy Ward, and I was talking to other business majors, and I had Steel Blade kind of just developing. And I kind of saw the writing on the wall in my own family. They were all business. And I said, okay, let's just go into business. It just made more sense to me. Yeah.
Gotcha. So when you said going to business, did you switch your major over to business, or did you just decide to go that direction? You did. Okay.
Yeah, I switched everything. Yeah.
So let's transition to that. So you obviously, as a personal thing, you enjoyed the fitness side, but more now we're talking career path. What was the idea coming up with the product that you did when you first came up with it? Like, when did that click, and why did you end up coming up with that product in general?
Well, it was basically a blending of two worlds. I was going to the gym, and I just had a crazy workout, a killer workout, and I was going for a protein shake with my shaker bottle, shaking it up, and as we all do. And then I just drank it like usual, and it was clumpy. And I was like, man, I'm getting so sick of this. Like, why am I working out so hard and having to eat my protein? I was just getting upset. And so I went to my dorm and I was like, is there anything out there? And there was like something with a plastic oscillator. I bought that for $40. It broke within a week. And so I was kind of back to the drawing board. I went back to my dorm. This is freshman year in April. And I just drew a Microsoft Paint real quick of what I wanted to, see in a product. And then I just kind of pursued it on a whim. It was really interesting. But I had an eBay business at the time. I really didn't see myself as a business person. I just wanted to make some extra side money with eBay. But I was always hustling, I suppose. So it was kind of marrying these two worlds together. And it was something that allowed me to put another passion into and do fitness and business. I saw a great opportunity to marry the two.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Because I wasn't sure, because I've seen an interview with you before when you were talking about how it came from the fitness side of it, but I wasn't sure when you started it exactly. So you started off as a freshman. So was this something you just worked on the side for, or was it like a project that you were doing in the business at all, or this was like your little side thing? And when did you kind of, get to the point where you're like, wow, this could be a product and I could sell and make money, more so than a concept than an idea?
I would say that it was definitely a project that I didn't take it too seriously in the first, not probably until spring semester of sophomore year. And then by the time that happened, I was in the Valley Venture Mentor Accelerator program, and I'd worked with some UMass engineers, 11 of them actually, to create 2 different prototypes. And one of the prototypes was just insane. I mean, it was perfect. And when I saw that, I was like, okay, this is going to be legit. I mean, I had everything planned out. And then I had taken that summer to go and work out in LA under the CEO of a startup company to learn kind of how it works and how, you should run a business basically in a startup mode. And I just got hooked and I fell in love. And I thought that the way they were going about it and their attitude and everything was just awesome. And I came back I hit the ground running junior year. And then I would say junior summer going into senior year was when I was really working on it full time. And it was really interesting to see kind of the mindset I was having, because I was trying to dip into sales, but I was facing so much rejection all the time that it was making me be like, I don't know if I want to keep doing this. Because by then I had a tangible product. I was trying to sell it. We had, friends and family buying it, but I was trying to go to like gyms. I was trying to go to nutrition stores like Cape Cod Nutrition, right? And I was like, okay, do you want to buy this? And they're like, maybe 10 units. And I was like, or they would say no. And I was like, oh my God, this is so tough. And I remember I had like a breakdown like in the summer. And I was like, I'm just going to take a break from this for a little bit. And then senior year, some good things happened. And then Touch of Modern came to me and we sold 200 units in 4 days. I was like, okay, this is legit. And then that's when I knew the business side of it was going to be legit. I had known when we saw that product that the product was going to be legit, but I knew the business was going to be legit. And so I could make money with this when Touch of Modern came on. So it's kind of 2 different things.
Yeah. No, that's really cool. Cause I think a lot of people can relate to that, especially the rejection side is. So when you were saying you're getting rejected, was it from people that you were talking about buying the product? And like, you said you hit lows with that. What made you keep coming back and back, instead of just being like, screw this, I'm done?
Yeah, there was one crazy day, and I can still remember this. And it was in the summer, right? And so I drove all the way to Avon, and I think it was called American Nutrition, something like that. And the guy who I was supposed to meet wasn't even there. His assistant was there. And the assistant was like trying it out, like using it. And she's like, oh, like, I don't, like, yada, yada, kind of just playing it off. And I drove like an hour to go there. And then I come back and I was like, what? I'm just going to hit up this gym real quick right by Springfield College. It's actually right by the Big Y, East Longmeadow. And I got the owner to come out and I was like showing him like a legit demo. And he's like, no, I just don't see a use for that. And I was like, but like, yada, yada, yada. And then I came back. I was like, man, in the rain, like a power line had almost hit my car coming back to Springfield. I was like, okay, I'm like done. This is it. And I hit like this
Right.
kind of really interesting rock bottom. But what came back was I just a random point of contact with Touch of Modern, and I just kind of kept working on it little by little, and then boom, that happened, and I was like, okay, let's keep
So
going here.
how long
Yeah.
did the process when you were actually trying to like sell it, did it take before Touch of Modern reached out to you? Or you got in touch with them, or how it worked?
No, they got in touch with me. I'm not sure how they did it either. That's still a mystery. I'm not sure. But it was about no, not even 6 months. It was about 4 months, I would say, after we started really selling that they reached out.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah.
How was your support system throughout this process? I mean, I think, you said your family was very involved in the business side. So I mean,
Yeah.
I know two sides to this. Did you have a lot of pushback or questioning from them? And then how was the reaction of you trying to create a product with like the school side, people being around you, friends, was it difficult in that side?
Yeah, so the family side, my family was like very supportive. They always kind of viewed it as more of like a project, like this could never be a viable business. Maybe my mom saw it because it's my mom, but the school aspect was Springfield College was interesting because it seemed like there was a definite split with support versus people saying we can't even really acknowledge you on the college level. And it was interesting because I think I went to the marketing department. And they said we just can't have any affiliation with you, and I was like, well, I kind of took that as an insult, right? But the actual faculty inside Springfield were so supportive. I mean, Annie Warhol was awesome. Shannon Finning was awesome. And we had all these, characters and people. And Res Life was amazing. All the people in there. And they bought it and they loved it and they supported me and they promoted it. And that was the best. And of course, friends did too. Yeah.
So you changed the name from when it first started. Was that just kind of a prototype? When did you switch it over
Yeah.
to switching it to Blendi?
So it went from Steel Blade to Blendi because when I did the Valley Venture Mentor Accelerator, that was when I changed it. And then people were saying, this is aggressive. This is, it doesn't really communicate that it's a blender. It sounds like a knife or whatever. And I thought the logo for Steel Blade was insane. Like I thought it was I loved it. It had like the 4 blades. It was really cool. But Blendi was more of like a gender neutral. It communicates blender, and it has the I for you put the I in Blendi. Like you kind of envision this mindset of it. We're a fitness and brand company pretty much. We like to live a healthy lifestyle, and I thought it was cool, and I thought it was a nice opportunity to make this modern logo with it. And I just was like, yeah, this is better. It's
Was
not
the
so
whole
harsh as Steel
Yeah,
Blade.
no, I mean it makes
Yeah,
sense because you don't think about that either. Because you're like come up with a cool design, you're like this is cool, and then
yeah,
you have to look at it from a different perspective. It changes the game a little bit.
yeah.
When so with the whole process, are there you talked about the difficult points in that, but for someone that's looking to start their own business, what advice are you giving to them, if they're trying to create a product or start to do a business, whether it's fitness, whether it's starting their own product, something along those lines? What advice would you give them, if someone wants to go into that side?
Yeah, I would say definitely start it up as soon as possible, and just kind of hit the ground running. You don't necessarily have to know what you're doing all the time, and just learn on the go, and just see what you can do. But you also, when I got my first job coming out of college at Datadog in sales, it was like an eye-opening experience because the level of output sales-wise and just work was insane. And I knew that in order to take a business to a new level, you really had to do a lot of sales, and that's a full-time job in itself. So what I've been doing lately is I've been adapting the style of how I've been doing it into a more sales-focused B2B approach rather than a B2C marketing style approach. So I figured that the B2C level is good, but we're only making on average, we're only selling 1 unit to one person, maybe 2 as a gift, right? And so I think for someone starting a business, it's kind of important to understand, do you want to have the more B2C model or do you want to go after the B2B approach? And And do you have enough marketing for the B2C model? Are you going to spend on Facebook ads? How good are you with ads? How good are you with marketing? How good are you with, influencer campaigns, all of that stuff, right? Versus how strong are you, in terms of sales are you? Can you face that constant rejection? Can you pump out 30 sales emails a day and just get no all the time, but then get that one yes, right? Can you handle that? And if so, then adjusting your style and your approach to your company with that.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
really helpful advice too, because just from like the explanation you just gave, it just briefly like of all the things that are going on, the different things you have to think about. A lot of people, look for a lot of organic reach and marketing, and there's not many platforms that have a lot of organic reach anymore.
It's tough now.
Yeah. I mean, a little bit on LinkedIn. I mean, TikTok's growing, but it's, can you make crazy TikTok Blendi videos? But it's there's a couple.
If you can, let me know.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, I mean, from an organic reach, TikTok's probably the only one that you can truly blow up really quick with if you can do something fun with it. But like Facebook, you got to pay. Instagram, stories and stuff aren't bad, but it's definitely.
And now I've been seeing ridiculous sponsored posts on Instagram of like just ordinary quote unquote people who want to just run some type of fitness page or some type of random page. And their content there's no clear call to action. There's none of that. And I saw this guy, he just was holding a phone and he had paid for an ad just to promote that. I was like, what are people doing?
Well, it's interesting. So, yeah, and this is where I'm seeing, because from people that I'm talking to in the industry and different people that I follow, there's a double, it's interesting. There's two different sides, right? I think there's the side where, like you said, is there a call to action to bring someone to a page to try to buy a product, buy a service or something like that? Or do you already have enough income that you're good? And are you trying to build brand? Because if you're trying to build brand, that's a little bit different. But to your point, you have to have the money to build brand. And that's a whole different story in itself. Because then if you can build brand and you can build value, then you could market a product or a service.
Exactly.
But to your point,
that's the name of the game for influencers.
Yeah, that's it too. And for especially like you affiliating Blendi with someone, that would be pretty cool. So where is Blendi now? So you started doing it all the way at freshman year. You got to this point. Are you doing it as a full-time business, or are you working somewhere and doing this, continuing to do it on the side, or where are you at with it now?
Yeah, so living in Boston, I mean, I'd probably say if I was still living in my mom's house, I would probably be doing this full-time. But living in Boston with rent and everything, it's very tough to do so with the current income. And I do work as a wealth manager right now full-time. And that's also like another passion of mine is the financial aspect of life. And I thought to myself, financial management and being in that wealth management space is also entrepreneurial as you're building your own book. And so I wanted to pursue kind of both at the same time. But this quarantine has allowed me to put a lot more time into Blendi and kind of see what's going on. And the last 4 weeks have been absolutely mind-blowing, actually. And we're on pace to now have like the best month ever in May. So that's really cool. And with being on Brookstone now is insane. That's been a dream of mine. And now we're contacting subscription boxes, as I think that's going to be the next kind of wave of retailers. So I'm not really focusing on retail that much because it's been hit pretty hard. And I can't imagine they have much room to buy a product. And I can't imagine how they would sell it right now, quite honestly. So going into subscription boxes and these online store platforms has been the focus, and just putting out maybe 4 or 5 hours a day into this, just running sales emails like I did at Datadog, has been very rewarding, I would say. And I can see this being something I do every day full time for in maybe a year or two.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense to me, especially not going into the stores or pushing that. Just especially with the margins too. Nonetheless, like if you can get in and the margins are shown, so if you can sell them direct to consumer, I mean, that makes so much sense to me. And the subscription's interesting too. If you can get them to jump on that wagon, because then they can go in every single time. Yeah. That would be cool. That definitely would be cool. Yeah. So what are the plans with Blendi? Are you just continue to try to grow, like you just said, continue to push it online? In general, is that the game plan?
Yeah, so I'm facing at least this kind of critical moment right now. It seems to me, in my mind, where if we don't get some type of if things don't start getting traction in terms of we're getting a couple thousand each month, like the 5,000 mark each month, and we're making about 100,000 a year, then we're gonna need to get. And so I've been playing this fine line where I think in the next couple of months I'm gonna start reaching out to angel investors and just investors in general and seeing engaging interest if they want to put in a couple 100,000 to the business for XYZ percentage. And then that would allow me to do, well, a lot of things, not only work on it full time, but hire maybe one or two people, bring onto the team because you're a little more credible and saying, oh, we're a funded startup, yada, yada, right? And just having more inventory, more products, which is a next thing. So we're going to convert this into a lifestyle brand, and Blendi will just be the product name. So that's another thing that's coming down the pipeline as well. And just kind of creating these consumable products that don't just have a lifetime value, because when you buy Blendi, you're just buying a Blendi. And like I said, you might be buying a gift, but we want to get into consumables. We want to make like smoothie powders. We want to make things like that kind of fulfill this healthy lifestyle brand. I don't want to make it like insane fitness people. I don't want to create that because I feel like that's been with other, protein companies and such. But I want to make a lifestyle health fitness brand that caters kind of like to the yoga moms or to the moms who are trying to live a healthy lifestyle and just need a little bit of a kick or something like that, and engaging with that audience. So that's the next steps.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I think that makes a ton of sense because like you said, you start to separate. It's almost like the way I look at life now. I used to be like same thing. Used to be the bodybuilder guy, the fitness guy, and I've completely disassociated a lot of that. Like I enjoy it. Like I don't even because of injuries I train that way. But that's my favorite thing. But I've been pushing more health, more mindset, more wellness, more all that stuff. So if you can build it around there, the population you're reaching is so much bigger too.
Way more.
And the brand, and then if you could start affiliating yourself, like you said, influencers, branding around that, there's such a big reach that you can go to. It's awesome.
But you had a great career as a bodybuilder. So
a short-lived but great career. No, I mean, the thing is crazy, man, is I would be doing it right now, but like what happened is I broke my femur in 2016, long story short, and rods in and out, and I had a lot of imbalances, so I was training around a lot of like pain a lot of the time, and eventually wake up one day, sciatic pain, my body is starting to fall apart. I built so much dysfunction on or strength and on dysfunction, and now it's the point, like I put so much damage to my body that I've had to step back. And it's been interesting this is a lot of people I go through at different points, and I had to look at myself as not the bodybuilding guy, not the big strong guy in my mind anyway, and look at like, okay, who am I now? And self-development, refocus myself, and like reassociate to who I am. Because if I continue to try to train like that, everything hurts. And it's like, nah, it's not because I'm doing things wrong. It's just injuries. So it's been interesting. It was fun. I'd be doing it now if I could. I just have to work around it. So, so what I want to touch on now is kind of giving some value to some other people. So I think you gave a ton of information of like what the process looked like for you, the ups and downs of it, the mindset that you had to have. So with the entrepreneurship side of it, I think there's a lot of people that struggle and not realizing the amount of time that goes in. So how many hours a week are you said this a minute ago, you're working a full-time job. How many hours a week on the side are you actually putting into Blendi, like on a day-to-day basis while doing a full-time job?
So I had another moment too when I was at Datadog where I said, okay, I just don't know how much time I can dedicate to this, because the sales life is super draining. I'd be working from 8 a.m. I mean, I'd be getting up at 5, going to the gym, killing it, killing a workout, going to work by 8, and then not leaving some nights until 7. And that's like, it's impossible to work on a job after that, because it's so draining. But with this job now, it's been a little bit easier. My time has been a little more freed up to do this, and I've been doing about 4 or 5 hours a day. And lately, that's been sometimes even a little bit more. And now I've had some time freed up on the weekends as well to do this and pursue it more. So it's been nice, but probably about 20 20 to 25 hours a week doing this, and a lot of it has been organic growth so far. Like we've done almost a couple $100 in ads, which is awesome. And for the most part, we just touch a modern. I mean, I posted this on my Facebook. It's paid dividends. I have had buyers that used to work at Touch of Modern who then went on to other companies, and then they want to bring us on into their company. And so it's kind of this compounding effect where they just see you on these websites and you get natural press from it. And doing that has been awesome. So it's been kind of a blessing to not have to do that much in terms of outreach and just to have it come in with. And I don't think our brand is that strong in terms of, it's known, right? So it's been awesome to have that put such little time worked on it, or what I feel is such little time.
Yeah, and that's perfect transition. What I was going to say is, I think the one thing, and I haven't built anything remotely close to yours business-wise. I've always feel like I've had a mindset to do it, but I'm one of those people I've realized over the years that I want to do so many things. I hold my back from doing anything sometimes. Like I'll put someone and I just kind of go all over the place. With what you just said, how valuable is like being patient? Because you obviously seem like a very patient person. You have to be if you're going to be like a businessman, a successful one. Yeah. How valuable has patience been to you, or when did you start to be patient in general? Because it's not like, whether you're born with it or whether you developed it, that's such an important thing.
It's funny because I have zero patience. I have no patience at all. I mean, I'm always like, I want it now. And like, I'm always looking, like if I send a sales email, I'm like, how come they haven't gotten back to me? Like, I'm going to hit them up the next day because I need an answer. Right. And it's been interesting to know that I've been working on this since 2016, pretty much. It's been almost 4 years. And I'm like, wow, that's like insane. But I've understood that I haven't put like every day into it all. So that's why it doesn't seem like that long. And it seems like I'm patient, but I've been so distracted, I guess you could say, by school, by work, by trying to support myself, that I just kind of had a natural patience, I suppose. But, we were just talking about this earlier, and you see people like Dave Portnoy of Barstool Sports. This guy's been working on Barstool since 2000, and he was in like this shitty little Milton office in Milton, Massachusetts, and it's like nothing. And he's now just sold the company for $450 million after 16 years of working on it. And you just constantly hear these stories. Sometimes you can hear these stories of e-commerce dropshippers and yada yada yada, right? But these are not brands. If you want to build a true that kind of sells for that much, you're not looking at 4 to 5 years. Maybe if you had tons of marketing money, you could do that. But when you're building organically and from scratch, it takes longer. But those are the brands with the really dedicated fans. I mean, another example too is if you want to check out another guy, his name is Andy Frisella, and he made the MFCEO project. And that's like a whole podcast, and he started the company First Form. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that company.
Oh yeah.
But that's another. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And his attitude and everything is amazing. But he, for the first 9 years, was only making $600 a month, and the first 4 years he didn't make anything. And they owned a nutrition store and were working at nights paving roads. And I mean, it just goes to show you that to build something truly great, like they have both of those examples, it takes time.
Yeah, I forget. There's a quote. I'm making this up off the top of my head, but it's something like, everyone thinks they're an overnight success, but it's really 10 years.
Yeah.
10 years to get the overnight success or something like that. Because you don't, you're like, oh my gosh, he's been famous on social media, and then you look like, dude, I've been doing this for 10 years. Yeah. I just happened to click that one day on social. Now I'm 40 years old and I made it. It's a whole different thing. Yeah. What are some? So I think this will be helpful too. Are you a write a list type person? What are things you do on a day-to-day basis? Because you have a lot going on to stay structured and organized. What do you do to kind of structure your day on a day-to-day basis?
So I have you can't see it, but I have a huge whiteboard. Like it's like massive. It's a whole wall pretty much. And I just go nuts. I mean, I'm a huge list person, but it's not organized almost. I mean, maybe there's red for like things I need to get done right now, but then there's black, and then there's sometimes blue, and there's like personal, there's business, there's, like, oh, do I have to, do I have a return from Amazon I need to follow up on to make sure they're paying me money? Just all this BS stuff on this whiteboard. But it's kind of like, I love living in that kind of madness where I just see all of my life on this one whiteboard and I just cross it out. And it's one of the best feelings. So I'm a big list guy. Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, I think that's something I've done more of and got better with. But it's a double thing, right? You get the accomplishment, you get to check it off, you get to see everything going on in front of you, because you're never going to run a business if you're disorganized. That's for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean,
So,
Excel or Google Sheets is a really good tool to use to make sure everything is on task with stuff too.
is Blendi yours completely? Or are you like, it's just your baby?
Yeah.
That's cool. I wasn't sure if you were like teamed up with anybody at all to do it.
Yeah, it's just me. I've been doing it solo for 4 years. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what is one of the biggest things you've learned over the last 4 years from Blendi? You can go any direction.
Probably. Yeah. So probably I would say the amount of time it truly takes is pretty insane, and the level of I mean, like I saw this thing in the window the other day. It said persistence, 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 and that's basically what it is. That's the name of the game. People will not respond to your first email. People will not answer your first phone call. But as long as you just keep outreaching and keep going, as long as you send one email a day, or as long as you do one thing for the business a day, it keeps you motivated. It keeps you going, and you never know what might come from that. So that's what I would probably say is the best thing I've learned is just keep at it and just don't stop. Like literally don't stop, and unless someone's telling you to stop, legally or something. I'm not sure, but just keep going. Yeah.
So I got one
especially
more
if you're passionate about it.
Yeah, I mean that's huge too, right? You have to be passionate about what you're doing. You can't really fake it for 4 years. It's not going to work. Yeah. So leading into the last question I have for you is, how do you stay motivated, man? Like what motivates you on a day-to-day basis? Or you went through ups, you went through downs, you went through criticism, you went through rejection. Like, whether it's Blendi or anything in general, what just motivates you in general?
I don't know. It's a good question. I would say what motivates me right now is probably the Barstool Sports story, and actually Kobe Bryant and his mindset. I've actually gotten really into that, and I think that's really cool. It's unfortunate he passed away and that I had to basically, explore him after he passed. But that whole mindset of an utter dedication to one thing and kind of casting out the noise and just being ruthless to the point where you're actually hated just because you're so dedicated to winning and so dedicated to persevering is something that I've really been motivated by. And I just went on basically a month detox of no Snapchat, no Instagram. I just used Facebook pretty much, and just to get the word out there and keep the branding alive. But it was awesome because I was able to put so much energy in my mindset into what I was doing on a daily basis and be present. That was awesome. But in terms of other motivation, I would say just people from the past either doubted or those like it's pretty insane, and you've now are experiencing this too, or you have experienced this, to go from being like known as someone who's into fitness in high school to now switching to business, and now people in college know me for business. It's literally two different lives I feel like I've lived so far. And a lot of people in high school or whatever just doubted me and they didn't really think much of me, and so kind of taking that as fuel to the fire and saying, how big and how successful can I really be? And just pushing myself every day because I know exactly what I'm, capable of, and with a good mindset, I can achieve it. And just how far can I push myself? Even with bodybuilding, we push ourselves to the extreme to get to the stage, right? How far are you really willing to take your body and your tiredness and your mental state? It's kind of interesting. Like I like that challenge. It's like, how late can I stay up, or how much rejection can I take before I'm out of this, And it's really cool. It's kind of like masochistic or whatever that term is, but it's right. I like the challenge of pushing myself to the extreme.
Yeah, and I mean, I 100% in the same boat, man. It's like the whole chase. Like my thing I keep talking about is the chase discomfort, just pushing yourself to be uncomfortable. And I'll never forget. I said this on like 4 probably interviews so far, but it's the moment I was in my show prep. I was doing, and to your point, like the chasing to put yourself in the most uncomfortable situation and like make it a game to try to come out of it and challenge yourself. But like biking home in the rain, you know, one night from work, like at 10:30 p.m. and like in competition prep, and I'm just sitting there, and I remember literally just yelling in the rain, like, let's fucking go. Like just like to the point of like, no one's gonna outwork me. I like embraced like the suck basically. And, and I'm sure you probably feel similar to this, and I can finish up with this is my goal in life literally is to not be average. Like I just don't want to be average. If you want to live an average life, whatever you want to do, I'm happy for you. But like the idea of just going through with like whatever your term of average is like sickening to me. So like that's just how I feel.
That's the way I felt too. I felt that was what was happening at Datadog, and no one even knew at Datadog I had owned a business because I wanted to keep it separately from that. But it's to your point. I felt like I was average. I felt like I was not doing something that I truly loved, and I felt like I was destined for something greater. I just was coming home, and I sometimes was like, man, what am I doing? Like, what is this? This is not what I set myself out. And this quarantine has been like truly amazing because it's allowed me to have time at night to just kind of sit there and reflect, as I often do, and be in kind of my present mindset where I'm like, okay, what is it going to take for me to achieve what I want to do next? And I decided that I want to do some type of college or high school speaking tour where I can tell my story, but then motivate them to really say, you know, I have the ability right now in college or high school to take advantage of this time and like put something amazing together and really push myself. And that's something I want to do. I want to have my own TED Talk, you know, and these are just things that I didn't think I could see myself doing working at Datadog or working at some job. So yeah, it's to your point.
I love that, man. I'm going to end it like that. I think that's perfect. I think everyone can relate to that. And no matter what anyone says, there's always a piece of them that wants more. And just allowing yourself to not fall into society's norm, you know, whatever your goals are physically, mentally, career, whatever, but just not allowing yourself to just settle and to be comfortable. Like, I feel like you have to challenge yourself every day. So I just want to thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. That was definitely insightful. And I hope a lot of people, you know, whether in the business or mindset stuff, you know, take advantage of it.
Yeah. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, man. We'll talk soon. Tell everybody. I'll see you guys next time.
Yeah.